talk about silicone molds and keychains and how to get your mold from here to a keychain. It is very simple. I have a lot of molds that I play around with. These are my most popular ones. Also I have a couple kids in my son's class that like the rock molds. And these are a few that I have done out of my rock molds. All the molds that I have come from Amazon. So for instance, this one is my rock, one of my rock molds. I have three of these, and they're different sizes and different shapes. I also have a big sphere mold, and right here you fill it with the epoxy glitter or whatever. For the longest time I would just take the top off and just fill this, and it'd be half dome, and some of the kids in my son's class wanted some of those. My latest is the Mermaid. The pack that I got off of Amazon came with 2 small mermaid molds and then 1 giant mold, and also some seashell molds. I tried this one. I'm not too fond of it. Depends on what color of epoxy you're wanting to do in the mold. Some of these didn't even look like seashells. So that one's kind of hard to play around with. My very first mold set, and sorry, these are dirty because I use them all the time. This one I was going to do keychains to begin with, because these have actual little flimsy pieces on them for holes, so you don't have to cut out a hole yourself. Unlike the Mermaid, there's no hole or anything, it's just a mold, so you have to make the hole for that one. I also have a bunch of spheres or round, I don't know. This one comes out looking like a diamond at the end, and then I have a square one. Also have single square ones. Let's see. And then here are just different kinds of, if you're wanting to make jewelry, that's good to make jewelry. Here's a ring mold, another jewelry ring. I don't know what this is. I call it pea in a pod. I don't ever use that one. And then smaller, that one has glitter or something in it. Smaller round, which have the little nubs for the holes. So you can make real small keychains, and then a puzzle one down there. So I have those. And then Amazon, I got this, I think it was like $3 on Amazon, the puppy molds. And then Walmart for 99 cents. I found these on the end cap, and for the pineapple. And you see, I fill whatever epoxy I have left, I'll just fill and then keep filling until it's full, to make the multicolored shapes like this one. Make the multicolor pineapple, and multicolor mermaid. This one is actually a magnet. I also do magnets, which is very easy too. And you can get the magnets at Walmart. They have the round ones, and then they have the long strip ones, which I cut into smaller pieces. So, like, that's a magnet instead of a keychain. Okay, so I am going to show two different molds. I'm going to do a unicorn mold, I mean not unicorn, mermaid, sorry, mold, and a couple of these to show you how I get the keychains on them. Okay, so I've already mixed my epoxy, and I was just letting it sit so the bubbles could come up and pop. And it's okay if there are small bubbles, because really we're going to be mixing with glitter, and that just creates more bubbles. Oh, I forgot about these. Smaller rings. This one, I don't know if you can tell, is kitty cat ears on it, and these are just plain rings, ring mold. The ring molds for those, they're kind of hard to work with. You need like a little dropper to fill up with the epoxy and drop down in there, because there is a little lip to tell you where to stop, so you don't go over and then have to sand down. But I don't work with those a whole lot. I don't get a lot of requests for those. So, okay. So let me find some pretty glitter. Let's see. We'll do this pretty green. Can you see it? Pretty green. And I just pour it right into my epoxy. You don't want too much glitter at first, because you want to make sure that the epoxy is not too thick, so that the epoxy spreads in the mold. So I mix just a little bit at a time and see how runny the epoxy is with that glitter. But you want enough glitter in there, because like these, like this one, the glitter actually seeps down and sets on the bottom, and then the top part is usually like a clear. Let's see if I can find one that's like that I didn't mix enough. Oh, where'd it go? I don't know what I did with it. But anyways, you want to make sure there's enough glitter so that it looks like it's on, you know, all the way around. Okay. So first let's fill up my little sphere. It's one of my favorites. And I just stream out just a tiny little bit and just kind of let it drop in there. That's why droppers are pretty good for these small ones, so that you don't over pour and you don't get it everywhere. Let's see if I can pour and not get it everywhere. these are so fun because you can experiment with all kinds of colors, not just glitter. You can, if you have alcohol inks, those are really fun to play around with. So I filled this a little bit above the rim, just so it bubbles just a little bit over the top, because the air bubbles will sink, or I mean will come up, and so the epoxy will sink down so to be level. But here's an example with alcohol ink and pigment powder. I was just playing around, so I think that's cool. So there's all kinds of ways that you can experiment with with these molds. And the good thing too is that the epoxy dries pretty fast. If you have a space heater, I'd say maybe within 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. Always make sure they're nice and hard before I pull them out of the molds. So you can make a lot at a time. So here, just filling the mold. You don't want too much epoxy, because then it will, especially if you're going to put heat to it, it will get real thin. So there, and spread, and then sometimes it spreads out of the mold. So you don't want, like I put a little too much right there on the tail. So I know that's gonna, so just pull some of that out. There we go. Okay, let's see what other mold I have here. This one has the little thing to make a hole. We'll just fill that. Fill it all the way to the rim and let it sit. The little square ones, I like to do multicolor. They make fun little jewelry pieces. So I like to do fun things. Okay, so I poured too much in that one. Let me fix this one. Oops. Okay, so let them sit for a few minutes before you put them next to the space heater, if you have one. A trick I've learned, when they set, you'll see that bubbles will pop up. I have a little spritz bottle found at Walmart, and alcohol, Walmart brand alcohol, 91%. And you just fill this little spritz and just spray just a tiny little bit, and the bubbles will come up and pop. And that's what you want, because you don't want, especially if you're going to do clear, anything with clear, I don't know if you can see them popping, but that's pretty cool. Because at first, what I was doing, let's see, I was just taking a lighter and letting the bubbles come up that way. But then I would keep getting bubbles. So the alcohol just seeps up all the bubbles. So there. Okay, I'm going to let these dry, and when we come back, I'll show you how to make the keychains. Hey guys, welcome back. My epoxy has dried enough to where I like to, this is where I like it to be to put all of my keychain stuff on. If you're making a keychain, if like this one, if you're wanting to make jewelry or a keychain, I wait until this one is still bendable. You can still bend it. I wait a little bit longer with this one to dry. I make sure it's hard. Once the epoxy is hard, you can't bend it. As you can see in this one, it bends. It's still a little bendable. Bend it back and forth like that. So you can't do that with this one. It's solid. Okay. I will try to put the links for the Amazon where I got all this stuff. So you have the key ring or keychain ring. Then you have a little screw, and then a little loop piece that actually fits through the loop of the screw to connect the keychain ring, excuse me. And all this I got on Amazon, and I believe all of these pieces came in one set. Okay, so I have my X-Acto knife, and I just try to find the center of the mermaid, or any piece that you're doing. You want to try to find the center. I like it to be I don't want to say gooey, but since it's flexible, you can really move the piece around and it helps. So now I dug a little hole, and what I like to do is just kind of push gently. You don't need to press too hard, just gently, and then turn the screw all the way around until it's in deep enough. Okay, just like that. Right there. Can you see it? Let's see here. Try to focus on that. There we go. Okay, so now I have that. So now I take it back out. Whoops, wrong way. Okay, and I have E600. I know that may look backwards, possibly. You can find this at Michael's, Hobby Lobby. I'm not for sure if Walmart has it. I've never really looked for it at Walmart. But you just dab a little bit of the glue onto the screw. I like to make sure that the little tip of the screw, especially the tip, is covered. And then you just stick it back into the little hole that you did. Sorry guys. Screw that all the way in. And this glue dries clear, so if you get a little extra, you know, a little too much or whatever, it's clear, so it won't look messy. Unlike, let's see if I can find, I was using the super glue, Gorilla super glue, and it works well, dries really fast, but it was leaving a white residue. I don't know if you're able to see that. Anyways, so I don't use that anymore. Okay, so wait a few minutes and let that dry, and then you'll take the little round piece and your keychain ring, and on the very last one, you'll clip that ring. It's hard to see, I'm sorry guys. And then you insert the big ring. And then pinch it close. And this is jewelry. I got this at Hobby Lobby. You can get it at Michael's. It's a little jewelry pincher. I don't even know what they call them. Pliers. Jewelry pliers. I don't know. And then there you go. Your keychain. Already. Super easy. And let that dry and let the epoxy, see it's already hardened even more. I can't move it, so a little heater works really well. So this one, it has hardened, so I'm gonna go ahead and get it out. And if you haven't seen my video on how to get small epoxy out of its mold, it's super easy. And I always have, it's not drinking water, it's actually soap water, just hand soap water. Mix it up a little bit. I keep a bottle because I do a lot of molds. And then you just get the water down in, and then it just pops right out. And then have a towel. Don't look at this one one's messy. Have a towel ready to wipe off the excess water. And then I always let these dry overnight, because if you try to use it again right after and you can't get all the excess water out of here, it causes bubbles on the sides of the epoxy. So there, you can use this as a jewelry piece, or you can make it as a keychain. So just like the Mermaid one, you just find a good centerpiece of that, and you just ever so lightly, you don't have to dig hard, and just swivel back and forth and make a small hole. Okay, and let's see. Then you can get the little screw. And then gently maneuver that in. So you've made your hole for the screw. And then you can either just put a chain through or the keychain. There you go. Pretty green. Super easy to do, super fun to make. I'm addicted to the molds, all of them. Okay, if you have any questions, please leave a comment below. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. I will have more videos coming. And I will put the links up for all the accessories that I've used today in this video. Thank you for watching.